So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ritwik Bhattacharya, one of my personal heroes. Welcome to the show, sir. Welcome to In Focus, and thank you for taking out the time.
Good evening. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. I'm very good. I'm really happy to be speaking with you. So, first person ever, first Indian ever to win a PSA title, nine overall. First Indian to break into the top 50 rankings of the PSA rankings. I would love to know what it feels like, the winning and the achievement of it all, because most people like me will never know that feeling. But more than that, I really want to know because you were pretty much somebody who got the ball rolling for squash in India in a lot of ways. What did it feel like to be the first person in a lot of these different parameters?
But it was a different time when these choices were being made. There weren't many choices in life. It was join the armed forces like my dad and become a
Yeah.
fighter pilot, or play squash. These were two options really there for me. It's not like I was and for me it used to always bother me because at that time the Jahangir Khans and the Jamshid Khans were dominating squash, and being from an armed forces family, it was
Yeah.
always like, why is an Indian player not in the top 10 rankings in the world, and so it was always something which used to bother me, saying we can be as good and better than anyone else in the world. And so I set out on this quest or
Yeah.
path, and it was I mean, I don't know any other way. If I had to do it all over again, I'd do it again. I think what
Okay.
was amazing was that while I was doing it, I was really aware of how special what I was being able to do was,
Yeah.
So it wasn't retrospective. It was, I was generally happy saying, man, I'm number one in India now, and I can play any player in the world. And, I'm
Yeah.
getting a chance to train with Peter Nicol or Jonathan Parr or Jansher or going to Egypt and training and playing the best players in the world and genuinely seeing how good I really am, because
Yeah.
one is knowing how good you are, one is testing it.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter to me so much if I was doing it in matches or practice or training. For me, it was the pursuit of excellence. And I got a really I've always been really lucky, I think, and very grateful for that. So I got amazing experiences where I went and trained with Major Manyam. I trained with Bajwa, who was coaching Jansher, and went to Pakistan and trained. Then I joined PSA just around the time I finished or was in university
Yeah.
in Delhi. And got a chance to go and train with Peter Nichols, coach Neil Harvey, who was really
Yeah.
influential and set a, because for me it was always that Indians are very talented, we're good with our hands and all, but we have our off days. And
Yeah.
on our off days, we are terrible, And I was like, but why is that not there with why do the English players not have off days? Why do
Yeah.
the, Europeans not have off days? What are they doing differently? So and I got a chance, I was playing my first PSA tournaments in South America, and I saw a lot of the players were from this academy, one from this academy in Chingford outside London, which was Neil Harvey's, and I was like, I also want to go there. So I turned up over there and did 3 weeks the first time, and then 3 weeks again the year after, and then I moved there. Because I was training suddenly with the world number 8, world number 10, world number 1. There was, Ong Beng Hee there. There was Tim Garner, Peter Nicol, Pete Jennifer, and people were moving in and out. And you had some amazing players who you could daily train with, and it was a university of life. So, I mean, great experience. I loved the winning and losing and the learning from it. Not fun. We remember the wins, but the losses, the sheer number of losses I had, I don't think many people will last through that many losses. And but one of the most exciting times, and I look back at it and feel it was a different life
Right.
now.
So, you mentioned how like it is a mix, losses and wins and all, and most sports people, the most successful sports people will have more losses than wins on an average. So, how does one deal with that then? Because, like you said, on off days, especially like you noticed in Indians, on off days we are terrible. How does one combat that?
So you have to train hard. You have to train at a high level in your training so that you can recreate that. And we on our days we're not feeling great, you still have to turn up and
Yeah.
give your 100%. So because to win a tournament, you need to win 4 days in a row.
Yeah.
Just winning one day is not enough. So you need to train 4 days in a row also. So for me, it used to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is my training days. Where Saturday, Sunday would be my match days, where I would go out and play practice matches if there was no tournament going on. And then Monday would be my off day,
Yeah.
where the whole world is working. I would take my off day and be very proud that I'm off on Mondays. And then as I became a pro, it was amazing because earlier as an amateur, you're waking up at 6 in the morning and training, and you're training in the evening. As you become a pro, you wake up aram se, you go to the court at 9 o'clock when everyone else is left, all the amateurs are left.
Yeah.
And then you train 9 to 12, and then 1 or 2 hours break, and 3 to 6 again. And then you do that 4 5 days, and you take a weekend off and play
Yeah.
matches on those days. So
Yeah.
uh, totally different mindset, I think. I mean, and for me, it was really refreshing that was what a pro sportsman has to do to
Mm.
manage and play with the best players in the world. And
Yeah.
it was not so much as it was more because I wanted to genuinely find out how good I am.
Okay.
And it was a personal quest, and that's why I left as well when I was 31, saying ki now it's a selfish pursuit as well. Now let me see what
Yeah.
I can do with all this learning and give back in a certain way. So, and here I am today.
So, you spoke about how training is a big part. Training with the right intention is a big part of overcoming whatever setbacks the sport throws at you. How big does the mental side then become in that particular pursuit?
So I was physically super fit because of
Yeah.
being from the armed forces background and a cadet at the Rashtriya Indian Military College, and I generally love being outdoors and playing. The mental side is the most important side. So you can develop that, and you can develop any part of your game as long as you're keen. You can't teach someone keenness,
Yeah.
and but the mental side is the most important part, and it's like your balance is bad. Okay.
Okay.
Phys- Mental balance is bad, so you would improve that by physically improving your balance by standing in the
Okay.
vrikshasana or something like that, and you'll test if you improve your balance physically, you mentally improve your balance. So you can
Okay.
do that the other way around as well. If you're mentally strong in some place, you can physically improve. So to improve your mentally, you have to physically do something to get mentally stronger as well,
Okay.
because the lessons are there. The beauty of being a professional athlete is you get a daily result.
Yeah.
Life, you don't get daily results.
Yeah.
You can work hard, and maybe at the end of your life, and some artists and all don't even in their life get that reward. I don't know if Pink Floyd really knew how famous they would really be, today.
Yeah.
But
True.
in sports, you get that daily reward, you get that daily answer. And if you are honest, and that I think is the most important thing, you have to be super honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're honest, then it was a good day and a bad day, and how much harder you can work. And that's the beauty of being a pro sportsman. And if you get those foundations sorted over there, how to deal with loss, how to deal with wins. If you win and you fly high too much, then the next day you lose, and then your feet are back on the ground. So you have to take everything in your stride. And one of the most important things I should think about was let the racket do the talking. And you're only as good as your last result. So it doesn't matter. You could be 20-time champion and all, but कल कैसे खेला और कल
Yeah.
कैसे खेलूंगा, that's what everything matters. So you could be playing the best player in the world as well, and maybe he doesn't have a good day, so are you
Yeah.
ready to win on those days? So you ask me, mental, it's all mental. But because you get daily results, and you can use, and once a foundation is set, that if I work hard and in this way I can play well, and then you keep doing that and making that stronger, and then you do play well in the match, then so to finish your answer, to be a pro athlete, you have to have a 1 year plan.
Okay.
As an amateur, you'll have a 1 month plan, 2 months plan. If you have a
Okay.
1 year plan and a 1 year budget, then you're a professional athlete.
Okay.
So that's a big change, and then
Yeah.
for the next 1 year, these are the tournaments I'm playing. This is my off season. This is my training. This is my cost for that 1 year. This is how much
Yeah.
sponsorship I need to raise, or talk to my parents, or do some coaching, or play some more leagues, and or win the next tournament and make enough money to survive, for the next bit. So I remember I was playing. I think I played. I had some really cool people who supported me as well, but
Yeah.
I was living off my credit card most of the time. I had
Okay.
a $5,000 or £5,000 credit card limit, and I would play it, and then either win a tournament or get some sponsorship, and then suddenly from 3,800 or 4,500 is back to zero. Your
Okay.
credit card is paid off, and then you play more. So
Yeah.
that mentally you need to be tough for that. Everyone can't do that.
True, true. It's not the easiest life in any case for an athlete, and especially for, I'm assuming, for a sport like squash, which A is not the cheapest to begin with for a longer duration, and two, unfortunately, in India, is not exactly as widely popular as it should be, perhaps.
It's quite an obscure sport, and that's what even I would be like. This is what I'm going to do is to play squash professionally. Is it enough? But the thing is, because it's in not the most commercial sport, the quality of life. I was actually hanging out with the top 30 players in the world,
Yeah.
training with them. If we lost, we would party together. You can't do that in any other sport. You're
True,
either stuck
true.
in a team, or if you're a tennis player, you'll have a coach, manager, stringer, girlfriend,
Yeah.
boyfriend, whatever, everyone with you.
You have a
So you'll
core
go for
group.
dinner with them. You'll go here. Here you
Yeah.
are with these 12, 16 players playing a tournament in South America or in New Zealand. Then you're eating together, you're sleeping together in the same hotel, and then you're going to different bars. After you lost, you're partying over there, or you're playing each other the next day. So
Yeah.
you're actually meeting the best players in the world and interacting with them, and that is very unique
Yeah.
because you don't have your small bubbles. You're really open, and you're living the talk. So you can't
True.
hide behind something. Here you have to be brutally honest, and the other guy is also looking at you saying you're looking a little weak or you're not well or whatever. You have to deal
Yeah.
with that. So
Very,
it was
very,
super.
very
I
fair.
mean, yeah, it would be lovely to be in a sport which was more recognized and financially more rewarding and everything else. But hand in my heart, I've seen those sports close quarters, and what we had at the time we had it. The It was genuinely, we love to do this. I still love playing. I mean, after 25, 30 years of playing squash, I go on the court, I'm still enjoying it. It's not like
Yeah.
a work or anything else. So for me, that was always crucial, because as something becomes work, then it stops being fun, and as it stops being fun, then you can't do well at it. So
Yeah.
this is, it's a thin line you have to keep your feet on.
True, true. So I want to take you back to the very beginning now. Growing up on the Air Force bases across the country, I'm sure a lot of sports were exposed to you at a very young age. How did squash happen and all of that?
So it's funny. I mean, I was playing a lot of cricket. My dad was playing a lot of cricket in the Air
I
Force
think
Station.
every Indian ever.
Yeah, but proper with a leather ball which is
I understand.
swinging,
Yeah, yeah.
bats on a pitch and all is cricket.
Yeah, yeah.
So
True.
it's gully cricket or something. And then I was playing a lot of tennis from the time I was 7, 8 till I was 12.
Okay.
And that actually helped me a lot because I was playing with a heavier racket and volleying a lot more with squash. When I shifted to squash, or I was playing squash when it was raining and you couldn't play tennis, so we'd go to the squash court and play. And then if no one came for tennis, I would be playing on the wall against the squash court. The tennis wall was on the squash court outside wall. But I loved playing sports. For me, it was studying and playing. And I
Yeah.
would come back home from school, quick lunch, and I was out by 2 o'clock, 2:30. And I would only come home back at 7 o'clock. We swam in the middle, whatever was going on. If the football World Cup is going on, everyone was playing football, or if in the evening all the girls are playing baddie, then you play baddie. You swim three times in the middle. Tennis, abhi uncles are playing, you can't play. So it was that, and I think
Yeah.
squash chose me because I was playing well in all of the sports. I mean, I was in the school team in all the sports, um, and suddenly I was playing national level in squash and doing better. So I think it was a choice made for me. I didn't choose squash.
Okay.
I would have loved enjoying everything else. Suddenly squash was. I found I was much better at squash.
Okay. Okay. So never really thought of something else ever throughout, especially when coming up through the ranks?
On the from background and where I was, even playing state level was a distant dream. I remember even playing some national level tennis players
Hmm.
in Wellington, where my dad was posted in Kunur in Uti,
Yeah.
and it was a tight match in practice or whatever. But for me to go to Bombay, also my parents and me discussed it, and I was 7th, 8th class, so 10, 11 years old. Was like, how will we go? Where will we play? What
Yeah.
that kind of conversation. So because I went to the Rashtriya Indian Military College in Dehradun, and they had a squash history. Raj Manchanda was from our school. A few, you know, national champions have passed out of our school, and the whole services team was half of them was who were playing the national circuit were all from our school. So I suddenly got a lot of exposure, and then we started doing well in the inter school. And then till I was in the under 16, I wasn't doing well. And then suddenly between 16 and 19, I was found myself being number one in the country also, in
Okay.
men's.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just I try and look back as well and what I was doing and what was I doing at 16, 17 because I'm coaching kids who are 16, 17 now at the academy. And I'm like, talking to my mom as well, saying, Mom, what was I doing? But mainly, I think I just loved it, and I was super fit
Yeah.
and I loved the mind, how to, bully someone because sport is all about bullying, especially squash because unlike boxing, you have to fight your own weight. In squash, you can be my size and you can play a little boy or you can
Yeah.
play someone else who's not the so it's a game where you bully and it's physical chess, so you have to positionally bully and you
Yeah.
have to get in the other person's head, so beat them in practice how you're hitting. So it's a lot of fun once you plan a strategy and it works, and then you
Hmm.
can play effortlessly, and to play your best is the crux. And if you've enjoyed playing and beaten someone effortlessly, that's another kind of joy as well.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. I've felt that a little bit over the course of my playing days. So that's always a lot of fun. So you spoke about the national tournaments and the state tournaments and all. How was the experience of the first ever like big tournament that you were a part of? Like, were you slightly blinded by the lights of it all, or was it just another day?
Man, I lost to this guy Shandeep in the under 16 8 times in the year, and the
Okay.
final. And so we were 15 years old, and then I went back and I trained really hard. I mean, I would be doing sprints on my own. I remember staying back in school in a midterm break and training alone and
Hmm.
going to IMA and training with the senior cadets over there. And I don't know what happened. I played this trials and I was 2 love down, and I have
Okay.
beaten Shandeep, who I never beaten before in my life, 3-2. And I made the
Okay.
Indian team at that time, thanks to our then coach Rajdeep Brar, who was also part of the Indian men's team. And because everyone was like, Shandeep should go in the team, and I was like number fourth. I just got in. So, and because of that, I went to the World Juniors in '96 in Cairo as
Yeah.
part of the Indian Junior Under 19 team. And I was number fourth seed, so I didn't have to play. I was more watching all the best players and juniors in that time in the world in Cairo, staying at the Sonesta Hotel. And for me, it was uh, going from Dehradun and from a small Air Force bases around the country to go to Delhi was also a big deal. To come to
Yeah.
Bombay was a big deal. To suddenly be sitting in Cairo was like, what's happened over here?
Yeah.
How did this happen? So that really, I think, motivated me a lot. And then at that time, the Mahindra tournaments used to happen in Bombay, and the best players in the world were coming in for 3 years, 96, 97, or 95, 96, 97. So we had Rodney Iles, Peter Nicol, Jonathan Parr, Jansher, the last of Jansher. He was
Hmm.
one of the first ones. Um, were all there, and I remember carrying Rodney Iles' bag because no one else wanted to. He was a grumpy guy, and but he was number two in the world,
Yeah.
and he would not talk to me also, doing the whole. I would take him from President Hotel to CCI for the matches and back until he had finished his batch, and we'd be going back in a taxi. He would not open his mouth, and he'd be just in his world. And I'd be like, man, all the other players are going morning, evening to train and all. You've gone once, and then I haven't seen you after that. Everything okay?
Okay.
He's like,
Yeah.
man, I went checked the court out, and it's a normal glass court, little bouncy. But now I can, because I've trained enough, I can practice in my room, in my mind. I was
Okay.
like, wow, man, that's quite cool. I want to practice in my mind, man. So, I was 16 and I, picked up things like that,
Yeah.
which eventually I was practicing in my mind. So it's about
Yeah.
how you get exposed and the most exposure. So even now, when we're training the next generation, it's about how much exposure. It's not about what is the right exposure. All exposure
Yeah.
is good. You don't have to
True.
be, it doesn't matter. You can't decide for someone that this exposure is good or not. You have to give as much exposure as possible. And the best kids will use it and jump to another level.
Yeah. Whatever works for a certain individual, I'm assuming, because
Yeah.
everybody is
But
different in terms
exposure, I
of
think,
picking
is
things
key.
up.
Yeah.
Like after the base technique, I'm sure everybody like branches out in different directions
Yeah.
altogether.
Absolutely. But the
So
problem is you don't have good base technique.
yeah.
We are having advanced kids who are training advanced, but they haven't
Hmm.
learned how to walk and run, and basic biomechanics are off. Basic
Okay.
things like certain flat feet are not being checked and certain
Yeah.
strengthening is not being done. We're not teaching our kids how to walk properly and jog properly, but they're already running sprints and long distance and everything is happening. So that's where we need to come in and really go into basic training.
Yeah. Because
You
I
know,
I feel India, more than the people who made it at any level whatsoever. I think there are more cases where, because of certain injuries, where so injuries that could have been avoided during the developmental phase, like you said, haven't learned how to walk properly in a certain technique or run properly in a certain technique. All of those, I'm sure that number is much larger.
No, so I mean I joke about this, but I think we as a nation are champions and not allowing champions to become champions.
That's true. That's
तो हम
true. That's true.
कहीं ना कहीं कुछ ना कुछ तो कर देंगे. Either the coach or the parents will be, or the environment, the society, the club. कहीं ना कहीं तो we will pull that guy down or girl down
Yeah.
and say नहीं होएगा, or put a lot of negativity in the head. There's no daily reinforcement of creating an environment conducive for when the champion comes. They are nurtured.
Yeah.
Is the more ki abhi kitna milega, it's all I mean, calculations and corruption,
Yeah,
negativity.
I've seen that from very close quarters, unfortunately.
Well, if you're basically a pessimist, then you shouldn't play sport. you know you work in finance, work in something else, but you have to be an optimist if you're playing sport, because it's really there are too many things stacked up against you. If you start even
Yeah.
believing that it's not going to happen, it's never going to happen. Only if
Oh,
you think about that, 99 things can be going wrong. But if you're a true sportsman, you'll think about that one way you can make it happen. And you'll push and you'll put pressure and you will make it happen 9 times out of 10. That one chance of, that one point or turning point to be
yeah.
sharp and aware and say, that's where I want to make the difference.
I hope there are a lot of people listening and just recognizing that one, okay, this is something that I can probably touch upon at this
The
point
glass
in.
is not half full, it's the full, man. It's not half, it's all
That's
fully
what.
full always. So
Yeah, true,
my
true.
one of my really close friends, Raj, would say you are like a unrealistic optimistic. Like you're ridiculous. There's no way. How can you be thinking like this?
Yeah. But I also feel probably India more than any other place in the world. You can be as optimistic as you can, but people around you, they'll also work very hard to find ways, especially maybe the parents or the teachers or somebody who's completely not for that one lane. They'll find a way to, they'll try their hardest at least.
Yeah, so I mean, that's what I was again reading something, and in Australia, in the Australian Institute of Sport, they were asking one of the main in charge, the CEOs who had won many Olympic medals and all, saying, "Hey, buddy, Mike, when is the next world champion coming?" So he's like, my job is not. I'm running the Australian Institute of Sport. My job is to create an environment conducive enough for when the champion comes, he can become the champion.
Yeah.
So I just worry about making a great environment, and the champion will find his way over here, and he'll become the champion. We don't. The champion will find a way,
True, true.
against all adversity. But do we help that person once we identify that he could be a champion or has potential to be a champion, or do we become crabs and say nahi ho sakta? And
uh,
that's where we need, because let's be honest, buddy, we are not a sporting nation.
Yeah.
We
True.
have a long way to go to be a sporting nation.
True.
We are getting there. It's changing. It's becoming more professional. More people are taking sport as a profession, which was
Yeah.
unheard of, when I was a kid. Where, I mean, I was being asked, "What do you do?" And I would have to say, I play squash, and say, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." But what else? Like, what
Yeah.
else do you do? How do you
काम
manage?
क्या करते हो?
Especially you ever say squash, and they're like, "Squash, like,
Yeah.
what? What kind of job is this? How do you manage? How do you secure yourself?" Which I didn't even have the answer to at times. I'm 22, 23 years old. I don't know. But what I knew was a lot of people asked me, "What do you do?" And I was like, man, at 22, if I can play full without thinking about the future in the moment today,
Yeah.
then when I decide to stop, I will be much more. If I can decide today what I want to do later on, then I can decide when I stop as well. If
Yeah.
from today I start keep thinking about what I'm going to do afterwards, I might as well start doing that now and stop playing. So you had to resist, and you had to be very clear that, man, this decision and this choice and what I will do, I'll only do when I decide, no more squash. I'm not playing on tour anymore. Until then, I trust myself that if I can do it at 20, then at 30, I should be even better at doing and deciding what I
True.
want to do.
True.
So this stress needs to be put aside and enjoy what you're doing now. Because at 30, if you're saying, man, I wish I had done more squash, or I had done this training, or I had done that, I could have been a better player. I don't have any regret like that. I
Yeah.
know how good I was. I know how much I could have pushed. I know when I stopped, what it would take to be the number one player in the world. And I was like, now, man, I've done this for 15 years. I'm beating kids who um, are bachas, man. And now I'm taking their position to make the team for the corner game and saying, no, you don't make it. I need to go and all. I was like, man, it's a bit wrong. It's unsportsmanlike to
Yeah.
allow these bachas who are 8, 9, 7 years younger than me to नहीं मैं टीम में मैं चैंपियन रहूंगा और तुम सबको नहीं करने दूंगा. So I jumped out, and it was the right time. I just stepped out and said, then let the next generation take over, and I have more things to do. And today I'm sitting over here as well. So you have to do your best, and the universe will conspire to
Yeah.
reward you. You can't think of the reward, then it won't
True.
conspire.
True.
You have
True.
to think
True.
about what you want to do and do it, and then because it's the right thing to do, you will be rewarded.
True. True. So you mentioned how at the base level we are not exactly a sporting nation, and I've heard you talk about this somewhere else as well, where you were talking about how we need to survive before we can think about a sport. And a lot of South American countries, survival comes through sport. And in like a Brazil, their football is okay, a way to a better life, not life than football.
Yeah,
How
but
how
see,
does that flip here?
we are not a sporting nation because we don't have rhythm. We don't
Okay.
have bounce.
Okay.
We don't listen to music that way. We don't look at the arts the same way, as
Hmm.
passionately as the whole nation. It's either you like music and you go to music class, or
Yeah.
thereafter no music is ever introduced into your life because you didn't do the music class.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, your mom and dad might be listening to some music, and so you pick up. But otherwise, where are you introduced into music? You have some
True.
music festivals and all, but why are you not given music into your same way with sports? It's again either you do well. Can you be the Indian cricket team? And that time there were only 11 players over there. Otherwise, why are we playing cricket? How can you make a so I think we worry too much about the future. And
Yeah.
if I'm enjoying it today and I feel like doing better tomorrow, it's the right option. And you will
Hmm.
have downtime and you will have but do I want to go again and play tomorrow again? Yeah, I want to go again and play tomorrow again. And you have to listen to that voice and go that way. Because what's the alternative? You don't go that way, you don't do what you want to do, you walk the other
Yeah.
way. So I mean, it's tougher today because there are too many
Okay.
options, too many choices. It was
Yeah.
easier for me to do what I did because I was like, yeah, यार अभी खेलने जा रहा है तो ये सब options ही हैं, and
Hmm.
then now today there's too many distractions. I mean, I used to read a lot. Today I don't even read that much because there's
Yeah.
so many screens available with so much different content. There was a VHS, and even to see a squash match, you had to get one Jancher versus Chris Dittmar match, and you'd put it in, and you'd watch that on rewind and
Yeah.
pause and all.
That was a lot of effort. I'm from the
होता
VHS
नहीं था यार,
generation.
अभी तो मैं किसी भी जूनियर का मैच अभी देख के मैं खेल सकता हूँ.
Yeah.
Ush time we had to remember it in the last tournament, watch it, remember it, and then we to remember all our phone numbers, man. Where do you remember even one phone number now? So
True.
our memories
True.
are being used very differently now. I know the inside out of our phone and computer where things are stored and all. So our memories are being used like that. But earlier I would know 50, 60 phone numbers. Yeah, I mean I would know all my friends
True.
zero
True.
करके पूरा आ जाता था यार.
True. True. Uh, yeah, like, brains are different, being used differently. And
Yeah, see, it's a totally different world. I mean, I'm totally unqualified to say in today's world if I had still played squash professionally. I don't know, man. I love the sport, but today's choices are different, man. I mean, and
yeah,
that's the whole change because no one can decide for sure. No kid knows now. ये करना है. I want to keep all my options open, and by the time they've burnt out all their options, they're already 25 years old, man. They're like, now what?
yeah, true,
So
true,
now I
true.
I strongly recommend gap years. Again, an
Okay.
alien concept in our country कि 11th के बाद और 10th के बाद एक gap year ले सकते हैं यार. It's not a big deal. To make the
Yeah.
most important decisions of your life, take a year, sit at home, travel a little bit, then deciding what science or arts or commerce. Why are we like कि नहीं 18 से पहले school भी खत्म करना है, 20 से पहले college भी खत्म करना है और decide करना है. So, if I would been a kid today, I would have definitely studied from home, and I would have definitely taken some time off from, to really understand what I would want to do, and then once I've decided, then go there, rather than go to universities and learn general things. And if I don't want to be a merchant navy guy, I'll go to the ship and stand over there and say, "मुझे ये job चाहिए."
Okay.
And if I want to be a pilot, I'll go to the academy and say, this is what I want to do. So apprenticing is the way I think I would be doing it now, where I would go
Okay.
right to the place where the master is and apprentice, and
Yeah.
learn the skill and then use it,
And it's
which I
easier to
think
reach those people now. It's easier to reach those people now.
and you can reach anyone nowadays. Yeah, you can
Exactly.
write to the number one person in the world and say, can I come and train with you? And he will tell us.
Yeah, that's what. So when growing up in squash specifically, what was the best piece of advice you ever received? Because like you are talking about the younger generation today, what was the best piece of advice that you got that brought you here?
Lots, man. I was really lucky. I got from Arjun, who was number one India then, who played with me
Mm,
for 3, 4, 6 months every day. And in the beginning, I was losing 15 love, 15-1 to him. And in 3, 4 months, my whole level went up to another level where, because I was taking games of him, all the other Indian players got scared and I didn't have to beat them. I mean, so it was,
the bullying thing again. Yeah.
yeah, so it was a one. I mean, I think it's more that dream, learn how much you need to. How hard you need to work to achieve that dream and then plan it and then execute it in different parts. So the best advice I got, because again there's in India a lot of politics, a lot of federation, this, that, state, yeah, woo, blah, blah, yeah, yeah. And I used to be eager to get involved in that
Okay.
and to fight for what I did, thought I deserved. And then I was told that, let your racket do the talking.
Okay.
And for me, that was the best advice, man. Hargya, I've lost three national finals. So I could have won eight. But I lost that, and then the whole scenario changed. That suddenly I'm number one, and I lost one national tournament because there was no rankings and all that time. And then everyone would change the attitude towards you, and you'd suddenly be not the winner. And
Yeah.
then I had to deal with that for a whole year, and I would come back with a different mindset because now I've thought about it for a year and I'm super
Yeah.
prepared. The
Yeah.
overconfidence is over or whatever it is. And the racket does the talking then, because the way you win your next match,
Yeah.
And that said it for me that, I don't need to say much. I don't need to speak much. I need to play my best game. And then if I won, then किसी को कुछ बोलने का जरूरत ही नहीं
Fair. Fair.
है.
I think in today's social media age, that is probably the most valuable thing anybody can learn.
I mean, parents are fighting for the kids. The people are worrying about rankings and draws and ye wo. I really sincerely believe that you make your own luck. If you've had bad luck in two tournaments, but you maintain your poise and your confidence and keep your chin up,
Yeah.
you will genuinely get in the next two tournaments luck. Now, if you're still crying about your last two tournaments, you'll miss it.
Yeah.
In
If
the
you're
same
focusing on the
match,
negative, I
in the
guess. Yeah.
same match, if you have got two bad decisions from a referee, man, you will get the right decisions also. But you have to give your best. And so you asked me the most important thing. I was also in my early years thinking about this, and I lost in this. I could have won an Asian Games, gold, silver, whatever. And then I remember someone told me, I think it was Major Maniam, or it was Neil. He's like, man, Jansher would have all the referees of the world, all the English and Aussie and European referees, and he would have them. And he was not the most loved player anyway, unlike Jahangir was.
Yeah.
And his mentality was same. You need to train 2:1, so you'd have the number 3 and number 5, Mir Zaman and Moibullah, who were training with him. And every day 2:1 matches. And he would be like, man, they'll take 5 points from me. The referees will steal 5 points of me, which means I've not played well. I've given 5 loose balls. So I need to beat everyone 15-10.
Yeah.
So, that time was 15 or it was 9 points scoring. So I need everyone 9-6 or 9-5. Meaning 4 point referee ne de bhi diye, tabhi bhi main jeet raha hu. So now it's 11 points scoring to make everyone understand. It would be like I would beat everyone 11-6.
Got that, yeah.
Means I have to have a 5-point buffer, so I don't give you more than 6 points per game. So for me, it was interesting again how you change your mind saying, I am going to get bad decisions.
Yeah.
I am going to be, the referees are going to be tougher on me. So do I start now arguing with the referee, or I say I raise my game to such a level where at most my opponent can get 6 points from me. So even if I lose 5 more points, it's still 10 all. And I still have a chance,
Yeah. I that's a very interesting switch, because if there is something in the opposite direction that you want to go in, learn to use it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and so we have to focus not so much on the opponent and the situation, but about how good could I be? How good could
Yeah.
each person be? And if you are thinking about playing your best, it's not in your control how your opponent will play, but it's totally in your control how you can plan and prepare. And these are the only two things which you have in your control when you're playing a match, because you don't know how good the other person is going to play, but how good he's planned and prepared is your planning and preparation better, and that'll give you a better chance of winning.
Definitely. So this is where I want to come to the academy now. Start squash temple and real training. How did that come about? Because I know
So,
that is a
man, I
natural
stopped
progression for
playing.
some, but you've chosen a very specific path in the training as well.
Well, again, I think I'm one of the lucky few who, the right things happen at the right time. Today, I feel this is what I was meant to do, not play professionally for India, because I had so many different teachers along the way who helped me. And
Yeah.
most people wouldn't have so much trial and error. They would have one place and they would get stuck. And I was like, no, I want to be better and I want to be better. So, okay, now what? My movement's better, my game is better, my length is better, but I still need to improve. What are the best players doing? How are they doing it? So that was one thing which was always there. I never thought when I stopped playing I would straight away get into this. I always thought I wanted to help the Indian team and the Indian Federation, be the national coach and help the next generation do well at the Asian Games and Commonwealth Games and maybe the Olympic Games if it did happen, but it hasn't yet.
Yeah.
So, but I was in Bombay at that time. I came and I'm not a city person. I'm not even grown up in the city. So I used to come out to meet my friend at this place at where I am now at Kalote-Mokashi.
Yeah.
And 2 3 times I came over here, and it's one of the most beautiful places on a lake in the middle of the Western Ghats, with the seasons being crazy. But in the rains, it's like waterfalls everywhere. There's a lake
Yeah.
touching your land. And so normally I would have done it later, and then I saw this piece of land, and my friend was like, "This is available," and I was like, "How is this? No one taken this land?" He's like, "Because it's touching a tribal village." So I looked the
Okay.
other side and said, "Man, but that's great. I mean, if I make a, मेरा तो बनता है, फिर मेरा जमीन थोड़ा सा है, तो एक कोट तो बनता है. मतलब एक कोट बंद करके भी रख सकते हैं, but एक कोट तो बनता है. It's not a waste. And luckily
Yeah.
I had that approach, because if I had gone in with 4 5 courts into the and made an academy, I would have lost the tribal kids, because they would have said, "Yeah, these guys feet are not on the ground. We
It's
don't
too
have
fancy.
very
Yeah.
food to eat. We don't have very proper electricity and things." And this guy wants to make 2 courts.
Yeah.
They would
Yeah.
understand. Now today we're in a place and we're making a second court now after 6 years, and they know that we need a second court. There are too many of us, and But if I'm talking to a lot of friends on the tour and they ask me, "Oh, you have academy? How many courts you have?" And I'm like, "One court." Say, "How's that academy? How are you managing?" So so the court came up, and being outside the city, living simply, looking at these amazing people from this tribal village, you reassess things, and you're like, what's this superiority complex coming from? Why am I thinking I'm superior? Maybe I have things to learn, and actually, to be a hand on my heart, I've learned more from them. I think me being here and my friends and family being around might have corrupted this tribal village for sure a little bit.
Okay.
And hopefully the idea has been to give as much good as bad, because us just being here are corrupting them. I mean, they're tribals. They don't know, they didn't know Bombay was 70 kilometers away. They didn't know the ocean was 50 kilometers away.
Okay.
And they've never even gone to the highway to go down to the city. Was going down to the, to
Yeah.
go to a hospital in the city for them was कि हम नीचे जा रहे हैं और अभी वापस ऊपर नहीं आएंगे अगर हम नीचे गए. And
Acha.
today the kids are flying, they're flying to Chennai, they're flying to Delhi, to Jaipur, to Jodhpur to play tournaments. So it's a quantum jump, and it's fully a team effort. We have kids who have now been with us 6 years, who've been training 6 years, who've become coaches and are playing on the national circuit.
Yeah.
And we have Pooja, Munna. These guys were the guys I came to meet. Munna has been an influential person to help me deal with the oldest generation, who he's known for
Okay.
20 years,
Yeah.
whose kids are now our staff, and whose children are now training with us. So it's
Fair.
3 actual generation, but now we have 6 generations of kids in the academy. Every year another 15 kids turn up. But there's a change now, because those kids now initially would have 3 4 per age category. Now
Hmm.
suddenly in the under 11 category, we have 16 girls and 12 or 14 boys. So 30
Nice.
kids have joined. Normally
Yeah.
it'd be 5 6 kids per generation,
Fair.
maximum 10. So that's and they're all coming voluntarily. This becomes a community center, and we've introduced something called boxing and rhythm, backbeat,
Yeah.
boxing and rhythm combined. It's a new sport which is originated over here, which is
Okay.
to punch on a punching bag in synchronized. It's like synchronized swimming or synchronized
Okay.
boxing.
Okay.
So you have to punch at the same time on a punching bag, so the bag doesn't go outside its circumference. Otherwise, the turn is over.
Yeah.
So the tribal kids have been doing it. All these pro squash players have been doing it. Some pro boxers have been doing it, and that I think is a great development sport, because squash is not a development sport; it's an elite sport.
Yeah.
You have to be fit to play squash, and we don't have many good development sports in the country, and so this has really helped. And at the end of the day, these tribal kids are avatar kids, man. They're running up this hill, which is a 150-meter hill in
Ush,
the Western
ush.
Ghat, in 20 minutes, barefoot,
Wow.
without calling their mom or dad up and saying, "Can I go?" And the mom called me up. Any city kid is
Yeah.
now a phone baby now, ki mama mein jaun, daddy mein jaun, and then mom will be worried, and they'll be stressed, then they'll be what. To just go to the club is about 10 phone calls between driver, mother, father, and kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's going to be tough for them to be champions, man. It's very tough because where is the kid doing things on his own? And suddenly, when you reach an age when you're 17, 18, and your
Yeah.
mom and dad are not there to help you, then you suddenly have a nervous breakdown, you know. So we are not really nurturing our kids like that. So all these things were the reason why I had to get out of the city. I was running the academy in Bombay and a few academies in different clubs and working with some national juniors and waiting for traffic and waiting for kids to turn up. And I was like, मैं यहाँ क्यों बैठा हूँ और मैं ये शहर में क्यों बैठा हूँ? और even though I love Bombay, but it's like, why am I sitting here, you know? And
Yeah.
today I don't have that feeling, man. So this was, you know, where my I believe I'm a caretaker of the academy, of the land, and you
Okay.
know, I'm here for a finite period, and we have to set a system in place which is over and above me. It's not about me. If 20 years
True.
from now the best player runs the academy, is given the key, and he can continue this process, then it's a good system, you know.
Very fair. Yeah.
And it should run without me over here. It's not about me standing in the front and saying कि ये हमने किया है, वो मेरा टाइम
Yeah.
हो गया है, मैंने बहुत ले लिया है, अभी नेक्स्ट जनरेशन को आगे करना है और उनको. So I don't even go for tournaments now. The main idea
Okay.
is the kid has to be good enough to go and play a match on his own without having
The
him feel कि
presence.
अगर ऋत्विक बाहर नहीं खड़ा होएगा तो मैं अपना बेस्ट नहीं खेल पाऊंगा. You know, I don't want to
Ah.
bully the other opponents now. वो भी बच्चे हैं, वो भी हमारे हैं यार. You know, we
Right.
have to look at all our kids as one and help everyone. And in the clubs today, unfortunately, we're not getting that flexibility to do it. You
Okay.
know, in all the national clubs and centers of sports, from Otters,
Hmm.
CCI, Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium, City Fort,
Yeah.
Dolly Club, Rackets Club, कुछ भी ले लो, they all have become, um, they are not centers of excellence anymore. You
They're
know, they
exclusive
are.
clubs now. They're exclusive
So
clubs
there are too
now.
many rules, there are too many
That's what.
hurdles. ये नहीं करो, वहाँ नहीं करो, अभी member खेल रहा है, अभी light नहीं on कर सकते. I
Exactly.
mean, you can send kids to go to a nightclub when you're 17, 18. You can go to a nightclub till 3 in the morning, but you can't go and play squash or your sport at 2 in the morning. Why? यार गार्ड खड़ा हुआ है, कितना है लाइट का ऑन करने का? मैं स्क्वाश पे नहीं खेल सकता 12 बजे रात को.
Why?
We have to ask these very important questions. Then why can't I go and train or go to the gym at 2 in the morning? Why is it okay to go to a nightclub and have a drink, but not okay to go to the club and play? So
Hmm.
our court is open, man. There are kids playing at 3 in the morning. There are kids playing at 11 at night. कौशी खेल रहा है यार. अब जितना
Ah.
खेल रहा है उतना अच्छा है. Why have we held all these things and why have we not? I mean, you go to Hong Kong Sports Center
Okay.
and there are 60 rooms in a row. One side of the room is facing a ground, and at
Hmm.
12:30 at night, a football match is going on it.
Nice.
You know, so I have to be like, ये हमारा, मैं कहाँ खेलूंगा ऐसे? इंडिया में कहाँ है जगह
नहीं.
खेलने को? कोई अलावा नहीं है. बंद हो जाता है क्लब. गार्ड खड़ा हुआ है वहां पे, वो क्यों गार्ड कर रहा है? वो क्या कर रहे हैं हम?
क्या
सो
गार्ड
दी
कर रहा है वो?
गार्ड कर रहा है कि खेल नहीं रहे हम
वही.
क्लब में. सो these are things we have to look at. That's why I say we're not a sporting nation, because we are protecting our assets, but we're not using it. We are making stadiums where we need to make centers of excellence. You know, we are giving our gold medalists more money than they need, and not
Yeah.
helping the budding guys when they need it to become
True.
champions. When they become champions, we are giving them so much funds that they don't want to play anymore ever again.
Yeah.
So you know, like, so we definitely don't care that much, and we could, because the talent is immense, man. If it was not anything else, I wouldn't care. ठीक है, ये भी system ठीक है, पर इतना talent बैठा हुआ है. There's so many people who could do so well with sports
Yeah.
as a profession. It
True.
doesn't have to
True.
be a champion. You could be an administrator, you could be a physiotherapist, you could be a, you know, there are 100 jobs with sports and sports sciences which are available, which are options which we are not giving our kids for what. And that's one of the things which is going to happen in the next 10 years. This is the one area which has not been used at all,
Yeah.
or not been developed at all.
That's what, like, the powers that be, they want to keep that centralized.
Or they don't want to show Gypsy, or they don't want to show how if someone else comes in and does a better job, then they'll look bad. So वो
Yeah.
उसमें बचाने के लिए कुछ नहीं कर रहे. या
Okay.
तो सब बेस्ट कोचेस को ले आओ, पर फिर ये नहीं लगेगा कि हम अच्छे कर रहे हैं अपने कोचिंग के लिए. ये तो खुद ही कर दो, वो नहीं करना है. So you don't want, it's a crap culture or a dog in the manger. I don't want anyone to be good, and I don't want to get the best coach also in to allow them to be. I want to do it, and I want to be the big boy who's doing it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You know,
What do you think is holding squash back, specifically squash? I mean,
what is holding squash back is just we are not broadening the base. We are not going to the grassroots. We are not allowing more people to play. We are not. We don't have the best coaches. We're not giving that unconditionally to everyone.
hmm.
We are deciding who we want to give coaching to, and even that could be much better and genuinely given to the right at the right places at the right time. There could be more tournaments. There could
Yeah.
be much more sponsorship and support. But this is not just an Indian problem; it's a worldwide squash problem, And right now, squash is going through its own metamorphosis because sports like breakdance have become an Olympic sport.
I genuinely didn't
And
understand
surfing,
that.
and
How did
surfing,
that
and
reach?
surfing, and okay, yeah, skating can be, and even curling, I'm sure can be. But if breakdance is a Olympic sport, so before me, Michael Jackson could have been in the Olympics. I mean,
That's what, like, the day I heard it, I was like, that's, I don't know, maybe I'm illiterate in that sense, but that seemed more like an art form to me at least.
yeah. So I mean, yoga has become a sport now, as per the
Yeah.
next, Olympic or Asian this thing where the asanas are going to be in pose and all, which is all great. I mean, everyone can make whatever. So backbeat is our new sport, and we hope that because boxing in rhythm, like will develop a kid much more and take
Yeah.
him to the level. So we have been working hard on that at this level as well to join everything together. And squash will also eventually get its due because there's no sport like that. The amount of
Yeah.
angles and the amount of permutation and combinations are there because you can hit the ball from any angle as well as your opponent is in your own area. So it becomes the possibilities are huge, which in most of the sports is very simple. I mean, in tennis, you can hit a straight, you can hit a cross, you can take the ball in the air. You don't have these walls where you can hit the ball of this wall and that wall, and the same space is being utilized by both players. So it's not like across the net is his place and my side is all like in back here. So it's technically it looks easier than it is, and when you get that bug then you can't leave it. So we need to
True.
allow people more to have access to get better coaching, to open it up for everyone. And the squash temple is also there. Anyone who would really like to learn can come in the summer camps and immerse in a 5-day camp, and at the end of those 5 days you'll be 100 times better squash player. Rather than doing morning evening training, come here 5 days, you'll do 10-12 hours of training in the day, play
Yeah.
matches, and at the end of it you'll surely know what better to do.
Fair enough. I'll just start going towards the end. Just one final question. We've spoken about what an athlete can do, how they can shape their future. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to the parents of these budding athletes at this point?
Man, chill out. Enjoy your kid playing, because if you push too hard, they might stop. And if you break their heart, they might stop. And then to fix or mend a broken heart is 2-3 years.
Yeah.
If they lose their keenness to play, it's irreparable. Whereas, and I'll give you an example. There was this girl called Sulin from Malaysia who
Okay.
was better than Nicole David,
Okay.
who's been a 10-time world champion. And when
Yeah.
we were all juniors in 92, 93, 94, 95, Sulin was Asian number 2. She was one of the best rising stars. At 16, she was ranked in the top 20 in the world, I think. And definitely going to be the best. And her father pushed her too hard, and she stopped playing, had a nervous breakdown. She's the coach at Yale today. And Nicole David, who she used to beat, became world champion and became. So, how hard you push, it is not for everyone. Let everyone develop themselves and enjoy their process.
That's a very solid and insightful note to, I think, end this conversation on. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out this time. I have learned a lot, and I'm sure whoever listens to this one will learn a lot for any aspect in life, not just sport. So thank you for
Take
sharing
care,
all
buddy.
this.
Thank you. Lovely talking to you. Good luck.
Thank you, thank
And
you.
see you at the academy soon.
Yes.